All right, time for an instant reaction on the Jets Jaguars. I poured a strong drink. This is going to take a while. So first, I have to commend New York football fans. Buffalo fans, Giant fans, Jet fans. Now, Josh Allen finally arrives about 4 years ago, and the Bills games are wildly entertaining. But for over a decade, the Bills were mostly unwatchable, and those wonderful fans in Buffalo filled that stadium with less than ideal weather. Giants and Jets fans, for a combined, 20 years, mostly unwatchable dreck offensively. The fact that Jets fans go to these games, stay at these games, let's have a drink to that. That was as gruesome. Zach Wilson's gone from BYU to BYE. Bye. I'm not sure he's an NFL player. I never felt Johnny Manziel was an NFL player. Never did. I never felt Tebow was an NFL player. I'm not sure Zach Wilson's a backup. I'm not sure he is. Didn't like the pick. Never was a fan. Said it from the beginning. I've had my misses. This isn't one of them. You know, I want to tell you a story about, so I've been in radio for, Fox for 5 or 6 years, ESPN 10, 11, local radio for 7 or 8, whatever, about 20, 25 years, whatever that is. I'm not going to tell you the year of the person, but in that span of 20, 25 years, I had an executive come to me once, and he was considering hiring a very talented person to do a radio show. And I said to the executive, there's a big difference between somebody being a really good guest on a radio show for 10 to 12 minutes and somebody being a host for 3 hours. This person was a very good guest. And I said, we both like the person. The person's very talented at what they do. But I said, I don't believe he's a host. I believe he's a great guest. And so, the show, they hired him anyway. And it didn't work out as well as that executive had hoped. And about, 6 months later, at a Christmas party, I think it was, the exec comes up to me and says, I should have listened to you. And I said, no. I said, but as somebody who talks to themselves for hours and hours, I said, June, July, August, September, there are these long stretches where you got to be able to just look at a microphone and talk. And I said, when I watch Zach Wilson, I think he was great at his pro day. A lot of these guys are great at their pro day. They're show-offs. They're not built to run a franchise. Emotionally, from Provo, Utah to New York. Intellectually, BYU's schedule to the National Football League. Physically, Utah is the best opponent you play to the Bills. There were so many things this kid who aced his pro day had to overcome. That's why mostly in the history of NFL football, guys from Power 5 schools have done pretty well. Not all the time. Big Ben was terrific. But you were asking him to make a leap from BYU schedule to the NFL, Provo to New York City. He's smaller than you'd like. He is built for a pro day. Johnny Manziel's built for a pro day, especially Zach Wilson. He moves. He's good looking. The optics are good. He's got a nice arm. And then you put 6'7.5" offensive linemen in front of him. The pressure of the New York media, cold, often windy weather, sophisticated defenses. It's nothing against BYU, but look at their schedule. They're facing a Power 5 school 2-3 times a year. It's a lot of really, like second, third tier coaches they go against. Now you're going up against Belichick twice a year and Sean McDermott twice a year. So there were so many asks of him. The leap was too big. And there's talent there. But, I'm watching Zach Wilson tonight, and it was almost as if when they put in Chris Streveler, a backup in the Canadian Football League, it was as if the offensive line blocked better, the running backs ran harder. It was as if anybody in that huddle the team responded to at a higher level. This is not a shot at Zach Wilson. I feel bad. I think about this all the time as a sportscaster. What if my son was a quarterback? What if my son was a player? But I don't know if Zach Wilson is a pro football player. I mean, Tim Tebow won a natty. I never thought he was a pro football player. He can win games. You can't build your franchise around him. So, Trevor Lawrence facing a better defense on the road. He's a kid that played warm weather college football down in Jacksonville, goes up to New York and is at least competent. I think you have to at some point. Joe Douglas, I think, is a really sharp general manager, and people will criticize him for missing on Zach Wilson. But it's not an exact science. The best football coach ever, Bill Belichick, can't draft skill people. This stuff is hard. I've got what I consider 4 general managers in the NFL that I text regularly, have lunch with occasionally, talk to fairly regularly. These guys are really smart, and they've missed badly on second, third round picks. One of them's missed badly on a first round pick. It happens. It's hard. There were things about Zach Wilson that he's got an arm. He's got a little Aaron Rodgers to him. But you just have to consider, it's like, I guess, an example I would use is if, let's say you're a young person and you grow up in or around Los Angeles, San Francisco, Denver, Seattle, pretty big towns, right? And you decide to go to college in New York City. It's an adjustment to go from Denver to New York City. But Denver's a city too, right? If you asked somebody to go from Yuma, Arizona, cross country to New York City to college, the speed, the tempo of the city, the number of people, the density, the crime rate's higher. There's got to have your head on a swivel a little bit in New York City, right? Bigger cities. That's a big ask. As a parent, I would be like, whoa. I'm asking them to do too many things. I just think they asked Zach Wilson. Maybe it would have worked if he's in Arizona or Jacksonville. Maybe, I don't want to blame anybody here, but Joe Douglas is a really sharp general manager. I think Robert Saleh has proven he can really coach defense. Would you want to tie your career to this? I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And something else to look at tonight. This was not atypical New York weather. It was cold and windy. That's late November, December, early January weather in the Northeast. Everybody's like, oh, it's really windy. We've all, if you've been around and flown around the country before, we've all flown into New York City, November, December, January, February. It's windy. That plane, there's turbulence. It's rocking. You don't get a lot of sunny 74-degree days with no wind. It just doesn't work. Listen, there's 3 New York football teams. One's got a star quarterback, one has a total whiff, and one has Daniel Jones. That's about the NFL average. If you take 3 teams, somebody found a franchise guy, somebody totally whiffed, and somebody found kind of a sort of capable guy, they'll probably move off. I was thinking about this today at the end of my show on FS1. There's only 5 quarterbacks in the world that if I was a GM and I had them, I would never pick up the phone for even a consideration of a trade. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. That's it. In the world. Aaron Rodgers at $50 million a year, I'd pick up the phone. Tom Brady at 46, I'd pick up the phone. Kyler Murray attitude, I'd pick up the phone. 5, it's hard. Joe Douglas is a really, really good general manager. Done a lot of good work in a couple of years. This is not pretty. As far as the Jags, the 8 fans of the Jaguars who are watching this instant reaction, you got your guy. You got one of the 5. It's a nice win. Atypical weather for Trevor Lawrence. I thought the Jets would win tonight. I thought it would be ugly, low scoring, and the Jets would win. Good for Jacksonville. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Doug Peterson. Listen, I got no agenda with Urban Meyer. That was not good from what I can tell. Doug Peterson has turned this puppy around. These guys are a handful. And I think Greg Cosell said it today on FS1. You move Trevor Lawrence out of the pocket, it's almost like he's more comfortable. This team is just going to get better and better and better. Once you get the quarterback right, it makes life so much easier. I mean, look at the Colts. They've got a lot of things right. They can't get the quarterback right. They're swimming in you know what. I mean, they're drowning. So, instant reaction. Hope you liked it. Jets fans, I'm sorry.